All right, so one problem you might run into, and this happened to my piece here, is that the wire sculpture, or the wire part of it, didn't stick into the holes that were in my block here. So what I'm gonna do is, and this is gonna be another one of those things where you have to just sit there and let glue dry, okay, is I'm just gonna go ahead and put a good little glob of glue right in those holes, okay? And then I'm just gonna go ahead and reinsert this, make sure it goes in nice and deep so that it will hopefully hold it in place. Now, if I let that dry, those will be solid and I'm not gonna have to worry about it going anywhere. But for my demonstration purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next step. All right, I've got my pantyhose here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the end that I cut and I'm gonna open it up. Make sure you leave the toe end, okay, solid. Don't cut that part off. We won't want a tube. We want to make sure that that is solid. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to line up the seam at the end here, if you can see that, with the top edge of my wire. Okay. And then I'm just going to slide this all the way down like so. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this underneath the block. See how that works? Okay. And what's nice is that because the pantyhose is so, excuse me, is so stretchy, elastic, it's going to pull itself around that, and so therefore it's going to give you a nice solid thing. Now you'll notice that this is no longer able to stand up on its own because I've got this bunching up of the pantyhose underneath and it's sitting on that, and so that won't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and really line this up perfectly with this, and then stretch this nice and firm, and then I'm going to pull this pretty tight down over. So I'm pulling the nylon down pretty firmly like that, so that this is nice and taut, almost like a, I don't know, a drum, if you will. Okay. Okay, and it should hold itself in place. Now, what I need to do is I need to grab a paintbrush. Okay, and try to use a paintbrush that you don't really care about. Okay, that way you don't have to worry about it messing up. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put some glue all the way around the edge of this. I'm gonna do two at a time just so that I have something to hold on to a little bit easier. All right, and then I'm going to paint the glue through, or kind of forcing it through into the cardboard that's on the inside. If you're using a wood block, then obviously you're gonna paint this into that wood block. But what will happen is the glue will actually go through the nylon, okay, and it will attach itself to the cardboard that's on the other side, just like that. And yes, I'm using a good healthy amount. All right, don't necessarily worry about the paintbrush. I wouldn't necessarily use one of your best paintbrushes that you have, but a paintbrush, don't worry about it because the glue is water soluble, and so you can actually just rinse it with water and it should clean it. Just don't wait too long to do it. Okay, go on there. Put a little bit more on this side here just to make sure. So we're going to start with this, but in the end, what we are going to do is we are going to paint the entire stocking, this entire piece of pantyhose that we have here with glue. And what that's going to do is that's going to form a seal that will then allow us to be able to paint it with the acrylic paint. And that'll be this next step. Once we let this dry. Okay, so there we go. Got that there and there. Don't worry about this part here just yet. Once this dries, after it dries, okay, then we can take our scissors and we can just trim that off, and then we're going to glue it to our other cardboard base just like that. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry and we'll get on to the next step.